All right. We are back here at Song of the Day, coming to you from the Rock Cave. I'm your host, Mark Pierce. It is Tuesday, Tasty Tunage Tuesday here in the cave. The last day of favorite album week comes on our 2-year anniversary of Song of the Day. That's pretty crazy, right? 2 years, original content for 2 years. There were 2 days I didn't do it, so for those of you who were thinking that I got a Cal Ripken streak going on here, I do not. I missed one very early in the pandemic in year one, and then one last year, and that's it. So really, instead of 721 episodes, we're at 719 thereabouts, right? Still though, that's a lot, right? Last year, a lot of fanfare around it. We had people sending in videos, and I did montages and stuff like that. We're just keeping it real this year, and I am honored to be able to do this for a second year. So much fun, and we'll talk some more about that another time. But let's get to it. Today, we are talking about another all-time favorite album. You thought I was going to do Pink Floyd today. Close. You were close. But no cigar. Have a cigar. What are we talking about today? Well, we are going back, since it's the 2-year anniversary, we're going back to where it all started with the very first episode of Song of the Day 2 years ago, when I covered this record right here, Talking Heads, Stop Making Sense, that one right there, this one right here. I got DVD, Blu-ray, you name it, cassettes. No, but that was the very first episode. It's painful to watch. It's dark. Very nervous on the microphone. Remember, it was the pandemic. We thought the world was ending. So it's hard for me to watch. But I think I've come a little bit of a ways since then. So we're going to cover this again. And I think it's totally fitting because this record is super important in my life. So let's talk about it. Released on April 24th, 1984. So almost an anniversary. 38 years ago. This was a big deal. It was a really big deal. It has since been called one of the greatest concert movies, documentaries, whatever you want to call it, that there ever was. One of the greatest concert films of all time. It's up there with The Last Waltz, they're saying. And it's really cool. But basically, they were touring for Speaking in Tongues, their new album, and they had thought about doing some kind of movie or whatever, and then director Jonathan Demme, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Demme. He was in the audience with his girlfriend at the time, and he was a big fan, went and got a chance to meet them. I don't know how that happens. And then said, hey, can I make a movie about you guys? And he had done some small stuff. He'd even done a B movie called Caged Heat, I think. And they said, yeah. And so it was filmed over 3 nights in Hollywood in December 1983. And the band put the money together all themselves, $1.2 million. The record company, Warner Brothers, they lent them the money, but the money was coming out of their own money, and they said they did not have a lot of savings, so a lot was riding on this, and they're glad they did it, because one, it came out so awesome, and two, they got their money back and more. It was recorded in all digital audio, and they purposely released it in art houses and college towns, so that they could run them for however long they wanted. And that worked perfectly because people were coming back and back for it. People were dancing in the aisles, they say. And that's when I saw this. I was living in Connecticut, had grown up in Hanover, New Hampshire, college town, Dartmouth College. And I would end up visiting in that May or June or whenever that was, probably June. And they were playing it at the Hanover's Nugget Theater. And I went to see it. And I was obsessed. I I immediately bought the cassette. Remember those cassettes that were clear? They were clear. That was like a better. It just seemed better, right? Anyway, bought that cassette, and I just wore that cassette out from there on out. I just remember watching this film going, what am I seeing here? This is amazing. This is so good, and I've just been obsessed with this record ever since. The songs on here, many of which I'd never heard before, became the staple, and basically, they're the versions I want to hear. I don't want to hear the studio versions of many of these songs. These live versions are that good. A little bit of a story here. I don't know how long this episode's going to be. A little bit of a story here, though. But the VHS came out in 1985, and they added 3 songs that were not in the movie: Cities, Big Business, and I Zimbra. And it was called the Special Edition VHS. And then then it went like disappeared. And in 1999, they re-released it on home video, but they omitted those 3 songs. The cassette that I had only 9 songs on it. There was a time issue, so it had 9 songs on it out of the, I think it's like 18 songs or 19 songs, something like that in total from the movie. But only 9 made it on the cassette. Think about that. You see that movie, and there are all these songs that were not on the cassette, and they're in this totally different order. Like, it wasn't even like they omitted some and left them in order. It's actually in a totally random order. But then it disappeared for a while. You could only get the VHS. I told this story in the first episode. You could only get the VHS at video stores. Remember, if you didn't return a video cassette, you had to pay for it, and it might be like $20 or $30, but then some of the really expensive ones might be $60, $70 or whatever it was. Well, I had rented this so much that I was like, why don't I just keep it? I've already paid for it in rental fees. So that's what I did. I kept it. And I don't know what I paid. I don't even remember what I said I paid in the first episode. It might have been $50 or it might have been $60 or something. I'm not sure. I don't even know. But whatever it was worth it because I had the whole thing. And I had to wait years. I had to wait years for it to come out on DVD or CD, that is, and DVD. But the CD was gone for a long time. And when it finally came out, it was the expanded edition. And then the DVD took forever to come out too. So there was a long time waiting that VHS was perfect for me. Have you guys all seen this? Tell me you've all seen it, and if you haven't, you're going to. I'll try to make this I'll try to make it, well, whatever. It's my show. It starts off with Psycho Killer. It's just David Byrne with a cassette and his acoustic guitar. This was his idea. He just went out there and he starts playing. There's an awesome rendition of Psycho Killer, and then slowly the band starts coming out one at a time. First it's Tina Weymouth, comes out during the song Heaven, not on the cassette, and she's married to Chris France, the drummer. They formed Tom Tom Club later on. We'll talk about that in a second. And then Jerry Harrison comes out for Found a Job. And then Slippery People, which I love, absolutely love Slippery People. So funky, so cool. The backup singers come out. Those backup singers, Lynn Mabry and Edna Holt, wearing what they called like yoga outfits only because David Byrne said, we don't want to wear anything too flashy. Everyone's got to wear something kind of plain. And then he shows up in his giant white suit later, but we'll get to that anyway. That's pretty funny. But they didn't dress the way they wanted to, but then they start getting out. The full band finally is there for Burning Down the House. But the Thank You for Sending Me an Angel, which is After Heaven, so the third song, that one was one that I was like super obsessed with, that it could only get on the VHS, because he comes out and he starts playing the drums, and the video kind of comes in behind the drums, comes in along the side of the drums, and is a view of like the drummer with David Byrne in the background. Anyway, it's just brilliant because the song is so drum heavy at the beginning, and that's where you are. They said they purposely didn't film like close-ups of like hands playing guitar. They did a lot of close-ups of people's faces, so you might get to know the band, or far away shots of the actual stage, like you were sitting in the audience. There's really no audience shots here. But Thank You for Sending Me an Angel was so glad when that finally was released on CD. Burning Down the House, amazing performance, so good with the full band. Life During Wartime, making Flippy Floppy. Things get a little weird. The screens go dark. They start showing these things in the background, these slides and stuff like that. And then finally Swamp. And that's when, so you don't always know the name of these songs, but Swamp, he's like, hi, 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 hi. I told myself I would never sing on this show, but Swamp, love it. What a day that was. The percussionist in this thing with his drums, oh, it's so good with his bongos and everything. I mean, they have an expanded band for this performance. They've got Steve Scales on percussion. They've got Alex Werner on guitar, Bernie Worrell on keyboard. I mean, they've got all these other extra people to fill in the music here, and it's really, really good. What do we got? What a day that was, right? That's the percussion, right? This Must Be the Place. talked about that. Love that song. I was obsessed with that song, my brother-in-law Patrick and myself, and this is the version you have to have of This Must Be the Place. And he's got this lamp, and he's just doing this funky stuff with it, just kind of running back and forth, dancing with this lamp. It's dark, but the lamp is on. It's just so everything is so David Byrne. It's like this shows you who he was, and you know, he was weird, and I embrace weird. We already talked about that, didn't we? Then he gets into Once in a Lifetime. I mean, come on, Once in a Lifetime. Just like the video, he throws those glasses on, and he's just like, same as it ever was. Same as it ever was. And he's doing his thing, right? It's like moving around and all that stuff. It's vintage David Byrne. And what a version of that. And who doesn't love that song? That's a great song. That's a great song. But then he leaves the stage, and they do Tom Tom Club, basically, because that's who it is, does their current hit at the time, Genius of Love, and that's that married couple, Tina and Chris, doing their song. And that's when David Byrne changes into his giant suit and comes out. That freaking giant suit comes out, and you're looking at him going, what is this? And he's doing his funky dance with it, and he said he was inspired by some block stuff in Japan or something like that. But the band was cracking up because they're like, he said we were going to be like discreet, and then he comes out in that thing. And of course, that's what he's famous for, is that giant suit, and the dancing he does is just so awesome. And then Girlfriend is Better. That's what we're talking about. So Girlfriend is Better as the song comes out. And that song, again, obsessed. One of my favorite songs off this record, Girlfriend is Better. And he's just, again, at his best dancing in that suit. They do their rendition of Take Me to the River and Cross-Eyed and Painless. They didn't ever work those other songs in there. The Cities, Big Business, I Zimber, you could get them as a bonus at the end or whatever, but they never moved them back into the film for whatever reason. And that was kind of weird. We're at 12 minutes. I'm trying people, but 16 songs on this record and only 9 on the cassette. Remember, that's just, hey, that's a funny story. That's just weird. So, anyway, I've been obsessed with this record for so long, and it's so important. And you guys are playing this record today. If you don't know what you're playing it, play the whole thing. Better yet, rent it, watch the movie. It might change your mind about the Talking Heads if you don't want to know what to think about it, because when you watch it, you get to appreciate them as a band and who David Byrne was and all that stuff. So Talking Heads, Stop Making Sense on the 2nd anniversary of Song of the Day. That's what you're doing. Whew. All right, made it through it. 13 minutes. Sorry, people. That's the best I can do on this super, super important song. The director of this, by the way, he went on to do Silence of the Lambs. How about that? Anyway, David Byrne, if you're out there, I love your show. I saw his Utopia tour. We saw it here in Connecticut twice, right? But anyway, if you got a chance to see that on Broadway, that was pretty amazing. So whatever you're doing today, I hope it involves music. You're listening to Talking Heads, Stop Making Sense. And as usual, I'll catch you on the flip side.